I welcome you all to my third lecture on signals and systems for electronics and communication engineering students and electronics and computer engineering students. So first we are going to discuss discrete time complex exponential and sinusoidal signals and sequences. An important signal in discrete time is the complex exponential signal or sequence defined by xn is equal to c alpha raised to power n. Mark it as equation A1, where c and alpha are in general complex numbers. This could be alternatively expressed as xn is equal to c e raised to power beta n, with alpha is equal to e raised to power beta. So mark it as equation A2. The real exponential signals. Let us assume that c and alpha are real in equation A1. So first case, if magnitude alpha is greater than 1, the magnitude of signal grows exponentially with n. In second case, if magnitude alpha is less than 1, we have a decaying exponential. In third case, if alpha is positive, all the values of c alpha raised to n are of same sign. Fourth case, if alpha is negative, then sign of xn alternates. Fifth case, if alpha is equal to plus 1, then xn is constant. And in sixth case, if alpha is equal to minus 1, then xn alternates in value between plus c and minus c. So these all 6 special cases are very important. Now we will view the graphs. Now the real exponential signal xn is equal to c alpha raised to power n is plotted. When alpha is greater than plus 1, it is increasing signal with the value of n. And if alpha lies in the range 0 to 1, then it is discrete. This xn is decreasing function as the n increases, as shown like this. Now if alpha is less than minus 1, then xn is increasing, but the sign alternates. But its sign alternates. As I have mentioned that if alpha is negative, the sign of xn alternates. So if alpha is lying in the range minus 1 to 0, then xn is a decreasing function with the increasing value of n, but the sign alternates. So it is very simple to plot. You can do it at your places also. So these are the 4 cases. Xn is equal to c alpha raised to power n. Alpha greater than plus 1, it will be like this. Xn will be like this. For alpha lying in the range 0 to 1, the pattern of xn will be like this. And for alpha less than minus 1, the pattern of xn is like this. And for alpha lying in the range minus 1 to 0, the pattern of xn will be like this. Now the sinusoidal signals. The important complex exponential is obtained by using equation A as xn is equal to e raised to power j omega naught n, marked as equation A3, with c is equal to 1 and beta is equal to iota omega naught. This signal is closely related to the sinusoidal signal xn is equal to a cos omega naught n plus phi, marked as equation A4. So here we are using small omega in the discrete time domain, that xn is equal to e raised to power j small omega naught n, where beta is equal to j omega naught and c is equal to 1. And the signal is this signal is closely related to the sinusoidal signal xn is equal to a cos omega naught n plus phi. If we take n to be dimensionless, then both omega naught and phi have units of radians. Both signals in A3 and A4, in equation A3 and A4, exhibit infinite energy, but finite average power. Since magnitude e raised to power j omega naught n square is equal to 1, every sample of signal in equation A3 contributes 1 to the signal's energy. Thus, the total energy for the signal or in the range n in the range minus infinity to infinity is infinite, while average power per time point is obviously equal to 1. So this is a power signal. The Euler's relation allows us to relate complex exponentials and sinusoidals as a cos omega naught n plus phi is equal to a by 2 e raised to power j phi e raised to power j omega naught n plus a by 2 e raised to power minus j phi e raised to power minus j omega naught n, and mark it as equation A5. Now, general complex exponential signals. The general discrete time complex exponential can be written and interpreted in terms of real exponentials and sinusoidal signals. Specifically, if we write capital C and alpha in polar form, that is, if capital C is equal to magnitude C e raised to power j theta and alpha is equal to magnitude alpha e raised to power j omega naught, then C alpha raised to power n is magnitude C magnitude alpha raised to power n cos omega naught n plus theta plus iota magnitude C magnitude alpha raised to power n sine omega naught n plus theta. Mark it as equation B1. What I've done, I have substituted C is equal to magnitude C e raised to power j theta and alpha is equal to magnitude alpha e raised to power j omega naught. And I have got C alpha raised to power n as equation B1. Now there are three cases. If alpha magnitude alpha is equal to 1, the real and imaginary parts of the complex exponential sequences are sinusoidal. If magnitude alpha is less than 1, they correspond to sinusoidal sequences multiplied by a decaying exponential. Here alpha is less than 1. And if alpha is greater than 1, here they correspond to sinusoidal sequences multiplied by a growing exponential. Now comment about the periodicity properties of discrete time complex exponentials. We have identified two properties of continuous time signal, e raised to power j capital omega naught t. Number one, the larger the magnitude of capital omega naught, the higher is the rate of oscillations in the signal. And second, e raised to power j capital omega naught t is periodic for any value of omega naught. However, for the discrete time signal sequence e raised to power j small omega naught n, the above mentioned properties are not valid. This is very, very important. These two properties are valid for the continuous time signals, but these are not valid for the discrete time signals. Now, in case of discrete time signals, e raised to power bracket small omega naught plus minus 2 pi k bracket n is equal to e raised to power plus minus j 2 pi k n into e raised to power j small omega naught n. And the value of this is 1. So it is equivalent to e raised to power j omega naught n. Mark it as C1. Where k is an integer, we observe that the exponential signals at frequencies small omega naught plus 2 pi k are the same. Look at this, omega naught plus minus 2 pi k is here, and that has led to e raised to j omega naught n. So they both convey the same message. So we observe that the exponential signals at frequencies omega naught plus minus 2 pi k are the same as that at frequency omega naught. Thus, we have a very different situation from the continuous time case, in which the signals e raised to power j capital omega naught t are all distinct for distinct values of capital omega naught. So it is very clear that in the discrete time domain, the role of angular frequency is quite different from the continuous time case. Therefore, for discrete time complex exponentials, we need to consider only a frequency interval of length 2 pi, in which the discrete time angular frequency small omega naught lies, that is, in the range omega naught lying in the range from 0 to 2 pi, or omega naught lying in the range from minus pi to pi. The signal e raised to j omega naught n does not have a continually increasing rate of oscillation as omega naught is increased in magnitude. If we increase small omega naught from 0, we obtain signals that oscillate more and more rapidly until we reach omega naught is equal to pi. As we continue to increase omega naught further, the rate of oscillation gets decreased until reach omega naught is equal to 2 pi, which produces the same constant sequence as omega naught is equal to 0. Therefore, the low frequency discrete time exponentials have value of omega naught near 0 and 2 pi and any other even multiple of pi. Therefore, the low frequency discrete time exponentials have value of omega naught near 0, 2 pi and any other even multiples of pi, while the high frequency components are located near omega naught is equal to plus minus pi and other odd multiples of pi. So I repeat, therefore the low frequency discrete time exponentials have value of omega naught near 0, 2 pi and any other even multiple of pi, while the high frequency components are located near omega naught is equal to plus minus pi and other odd multiples of pi. Note that for omega naught is equal to pi or any other odd multiples of pi, xn is equal to e raised to power j omega naught n equal to e raised to power j pi n, because we have considered omega naught is equal to pi. So that is equivalent to minus 1 raised to power n. So xn is minus 1 raised to power n. Therefore, this signal oscillates rapidly, changing sign at each point in time, each point in discrete time. In order for the signal xn is equal to e raised to power j omega n to be periodic with period n greater than 0, we must have e raised to power j omega bracket n plus capital N is equal to e raised to power j omega small n. Mark it as equation C2. If equivalently, e raised to power j small omega n is equal to 1. Mark it as equation C3. It is only possible if small omega capital N is equal to 2 pi m, where m and n are integers with capital N greater than 0. Consequently, small omega by 2 pi is equal to m by n. Mark it as equation C4. Therefore, the signal xn is equal to e raised to power j omega n is periodic if omega by 2 pi is a rational number and is not periodic otherwise. If m and n have no factor in common, then the fundamental period of xn is capital N naught is equal to 2 pi by omega into m equal to capital N. Mark it as C5. If m and n have any factor in common, then the fundamental period is capital N naught is equal to capital N by GCD bracket m comma n, where GCD is the greatest common divisor of m and n. Mark it as equation C6. For small omega is equal to 0, n naught is undefined. Subsequently, equation C4 can be written as small omega is equal to 2 pi by n into m. Mark it as equation C7. Now we can define the fundamental frequency as omega naught is equal to 2 pi by n. Mark it as equation C8. Now we will discuss one example. In the continuous time domain, xt is equal to cos 8 pi t by 31. Mark it as equation D1. In the discrete time domain, xn is equal to 8 pi n by 31. Mark it as equation D2. So comment about the periodicity of xt and xn. So by using the periodicity property here, xt is equal to xt plus capital T naught. Therefore, xt in equation D1 is periodic if 8 pi T naught by 31, 8 pi T naught by 31 is equal to 2 pi. So I have what I have done? I substituted T plus capital T here and I have got 8 pi t naught by 31 is equal to 2 pi, then the signal in D1 is periodic. Hence, the related fundamental period T naught is equal to 31 by 4. By using the periodicity property that xn is equal to xn plus capital N, therefore the related small omega is equal to 2 pi 4 by 31 from this 2 pi 4 by 31 in xn is equal to cos omega n as per equation D2. So omega is 2 pi 4 by 31. As m is equal to 4, look at this, m is equal to 4 and n is equal to 31. We have no common factor as per equation C5. So n naught is equal to capital N is equal to 31. M is 4, capital N is 31. So as we have no common factor as per C5, so n naught is equal to n is equal to 31. Therefore, xt and xn are both periodic with the fundamental period capital T naught is equal to 31 and n naught is equal to 31. T naught is equal to 31 by 4 and n naught is equal to 31 respectively. As we have two signals, xt is equal to cos 8 pi t by 31 and xn is equal to 8 pi n by 31. So by using the periodicity property xt is equal to xt plus t naught, I have got 8 pi t naught by 31 is equal to 2 pi from D1. And from this equation, I have t naught is equal to 31 by 4. And then I have used xn is equal to xn plus capital N for discrete time signal mentioned in D2. And xn is equal to cos omega n and small omega is equal to 2 pi 4 by 31. So m is equal to 4, n is equal to 31. So n naught is equal to 31. Therefore, xt and xn are both periodic with the fundamental periods capital T naught is equal to 31 by 4 and n naught is equal to 31 respectively. So the fundamental period of this xt is 31 by 4 and fundamental period of xn is 31. Now comment about the periodicity of xt is equal to cos t by 6 and xn is equal to cos n by 6. Following the same steps, I can prove that xt is periodic, but xn is not periodic. Now use the same strategy and calculate and obtain that xt is periodic, but xn is not periodic. Now we will discuss harmonically related exponential signals. Using equation C7 and C8, we can define small omega k is equal to 2 pi by nk, marked as equation E1. Therefore, set of harmonically related periodic exponentials include phi kn is equal to e raised by j omega kn for k 0 plus 1 to n minus 1, or other range may be k minus bracket n minus 1 to minus 1 to 0. So these both ranges are valid. But phi k plus n bracket n is equal to e raised to power j 2 pi by n k plus capital N into n. So I can express it as multiplication of two exponential terms, that is e raised to power j 2 pi n and e raised to power j 2 pi by n into k. Opening this bracket, e raised to power j 2 pi k by n here, and other is e raised to power j 2 pi n. So this is 1. So this leads to phi k plus capital N bracket n is equal to e raised to power j 2 pi k n is equal to phi k n, marked as equation E3. So the unique range of k is 0 to n minus 1 or minus bracket n minus 1 to 0. This implies that there are only capital N distinct periodic exponentials in the set given in equation E2. So phi naught n is equal to 1, phi 1 n is equal to e raised to j 2 pi n by n to phi n minus 1 bracket n e raised to j 2 pi bracket n minus 1 n by capital N. These all are distinct. So we have a set of n harmonically related periodical exponentials. So this is very important. You can use the range k is running from 0 to n minus 1 or k running from minus bracket n minus 1 to 0. But there are n distinct periodic exponentials in the set given in E2. So, and those are f phi naught n is equal to 1, phi 1 n is equal to e raised to power j 2 pi n by n, 2 phi n minus 1 bracket n is equal to e raised to power j 2 pi bracket n minus 1 n by n as shown. These all are distinct. Now we will consider or discuss unit impulse and unit step functions. In discrete time domain, the simplest signal is the unit impulse or called unit sample, which is defined as delta n is equal to 0 for n not equal to 0 and 1 for n is equal to 0. And graphically represented as this, the amplitude is 1, delta n, present at n is equal to 0, and otherwise the value is 0. So mark it as equation G1. A second basic discrete time signal is the unit step, which is denoted as un, that is equal to 0 for n less than 0 here, and 1 for n greater than equal to 0. So graphically represented as this, like this un plotted with respect to n. At n is equal to 0, it is having amplitude 1. At 1, it is having amplitude 1, and so on. So this is the graphical view of un. Mark it as equation G2. Now, typical example, how to plot un minus 2. So this is un minus 2 is delayed signal by 2 steps. So move this minus 2. This means delayed by 2 steps. So move this signal towards this side by 2 steps, 1, 2. So this is now un minus 2 will start from this, n is equal to 2. And similarly, un plus 2 is advanced signal. So this signal will move towards this side for by 2 steps, 1 and 2, and it will start from minus 2. So minus 2 to minus 1, 0, 1, 2, infinity. So it is un plus 2. There is a close relationship between the discrete time unit impulse and unit step. In general, the discrete time unit impulse is the first difference of the discrete time step. It follows that delta n is equal to un minus 1. So this is delta n. Look at this. The only sample present is at n is equal to 0, that is 1. So this is un, and un minus 1 will be this sequence shifted to this place. So if un minus 1 will be there, that will give you delta n. So delta n is equal to un minus minus 1 from equation G1 and G2. I can define G3 as delta n is equal to un minus 1. From equation G2, look at this, equation G2. And the graphical representation, we can express unit step function as G4, that is un. Look at this, what is un? Un is delta n plus delta n minus 1 plus delta n minus 2 plus delta n minus 3 plus delta n minus 4. So I can express it in summation term that un is equal to summation k running from 0 to infinity delta n minus k. Or equivalently, I can express it as un is equal to summation m running from minus infinity to n delta m. So mark it as equation G5. So these are other two expressions for un. This is the definition of un, and we can express un as summation k running from 0 to infinity delta n minus k. or un is equal to summation m running from minus infinity to n delta m. So these are very important expressions for further analysis, because we are going to use it again and again in our future lectures. And delta, the basic definition of delta in discrete time domain is this, but we can express delta n as un minus 1 like this in G3. The discrete time unit step can be expressed as the running sum of unit sample. From this, I can state that the discrete time unit step can be expressed as the running sum of unit sample. Now, the sampling property of unit impulse plays an important role in the signals and systems analysis in discrete time domain. In particularly, since delta n is non-zero or equal to 1 only for n is equal to 0, it follows that xn into delta n. Now, where delta n is having non-zero value, that is at n is equal to 0, it is 1. So if xn is going to multiply it by delta n, then delta n is having only value at n is equal to 0. So this will give you equal to x0 delta n, mark it as J1. More generally, if we consider a unit impulse delta n minus n naught at n is equal to n naught, then xn into delta n minus n naught. So where this impulse is present at n is equal to n naught, at n is equal to n naught. So xn into delta n minus n naught is equal to x n naught into delta n minus n naught. So mark it as J2. This is sampling property of the unit impulse function in discrete time domain. So these two equations J1 and J2 are very, very important. Once more, I repeat, delta n is non-zero only at n is equal to 0. So when xn is multiplied by delta n, because delta n is having value 1 at n is equal to 0, so it will be equal to x0 delta n. More generally, if we have a unit impulse delta n minus n naught that is shifted in time, that is delayed impulse. So impulse is present at n is equal to n naught. So then if xn is multiplied by delta n minus n naught, now delta n minus n naught is having value 1 at n is equal to n naught. So that will be equal to x n naught into delta n minus n naught. So this is very important. And that's all for today's lecture. These are the reference books as indicated previously. Thanks for attending this session on signals and systems. Have a nice day. See you in next lecture.